May the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable to God, who is our rock and our Redeemer. I hope that preaching is like riding a bike. You never forget how. But sometimes in these periods of not doing it for a while, I kind of wonder about that. So there's a singing group, a hard rock band known as Guns N' Roses. Ever heard of them? I don't know if that's good or bad news for me. But I had to go on YouTube to check them out. And one of their famous hits is Welcome to the Jungle. And I thought, how appropriate for us and for seniors going out into the world, because I think of the world very much as a jungle. I was born in 1941. 6 months later, Pearl Harbor happened, and we've been in wars ever since for my lifetime, just moving from one to another, and we never seem to learn. And the world is filled with all kinds of things that are negative. The psalm we read today deals with someone who's downcast and facing enemies. It is not sure of the future. And the refrain keeps coming back, be still my soul, for God is on our side. So in the midst of those tough times, it's important to remember that God is with us. But in the midst of the jungle, there are all kinds of beautiful things one discovers. Exotic birds, wildlife, beautiful greenery and nature. It's almost like getting used to the home court advantage. That home court advantage applies to us if we know the playing field well. Now, as I moved into Grand Haven, I kept hearing about the pit. And I had to go back to a wise old man in this congregation, and I assume anyone with a beard that's white is a wise old man. So I went to Herm Tanis, and I said, tell me about the pit. Is that correct? That was the name of the gymnasium over here at the middle school now, when that was a high school. And he said, yes. And he said not only that, but there was a coach by the name of Schaefer, I believe you said, who always turned the heat up higher to wear the other team out. Grand Haven team trained in warmer weather, heat, whatever, and that was part of the advantage of the home court field. So knowing the playing field is very important as we live our Christian lives, and it's very important to remember the golden rule. Now, not the biblical golden rule in this particular instance. The golden rule that I'm referring to states, he who has the gold makes the rules. And as I've seen life play out, you can keep saying over and over when things happen, follow the money. Just follow the money and you know who's behind it, somewhere along the line. And so there is that world in which we live, which is like a jungle, and it's good to know exactly the kind of world that we're entering into and the kind of world that needs to know what home court field advantage of. And so some advice from an old preacher today. I have always treasured the words from Jeremiah 17. It's almost poetry, and it gets referred to different times. But Jeremiah says, blessed are those who trust in the Lord. They shall be like a tree planted by water, sending out its roots by the stream. It shall not fear when heat comes, and its leaves shall stay green. In the year of drought it is not anxious, and it does not cease to bear fruit. To be like a tree planted by the water, to know where our strength and our source of nutrients comes from, is one of the things that's needed in survival. Blessed are those who trust in the Lord. Draw on the teachings of our youth and more I think back of those lessons that I learned as a youth. And as I go through the tough times of life, and I want to say why, I'm reminded that back in Deuteronomy in the 29th chapter, verse 29, the writer refers to the things that have happened in Israel's past. And as he tries to explain the why of some events, he simply says, the secret things belong to the Lord. Those things that we cannot know or fathom or fully understand, simply entrust those things to the good Lord Almighty. Pastor Glenn is involved here on Sunday mornings in a series on the letters of Paul. And there are so many choice verses that we memorize and refer and recall. And one of the challenges that I want to put out to all of us, and especially those who are graduating, is during your college years, take on an extra assignment. Dig into the Apostle Paul, his letter to the Romans. That to me is one of the most transforming letters that Paul has ever written. In there are all kinds of insights about life. But even more, I think he gets to the very basics of the Christian faith. The just shall live by faith, and we are saved, not by works, but by the faith that we place in Christ. That epistle, that letter became instrumental in Martin Luther's life, became influential in John Wesley's life. I think it should be a key also in our lives. Another little tidbit I want to remind you about is the parable of the bridesmaids. Now that's often, and rightfully so, thought about the end times, when we die. Are you ready for the kingdom? And 10 young ladies went out, and 10 were prepared for the long wait. The 5 foolish went out with, this will happen in the next 2 or 3 hours. I want to say to all of us, be prepared for opportunity when it comes. And we never know when it's going to come. And I would encourage you to always be ready for the unexpected. Now, florists and pastors soon discover in their life and occupation that whenever you get a funeral, prepare for 3. It's just amazing how that plays out. In my life, right now, retired pastor with no cares, whatever, I knew that this Sunday was coming, so I began 3 months ago to get ready. Yesterday, I had a funeral for Mary Maelstrom. Tuesday, a funeral that I will help with and be a part of the family for my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. And in 2 weeks down the road, a friend from Florida who spoke to me last spring about, don't know when or if, but we think the last days are upon us. Are you available? Interesting how things should be spaced out. But your college professors will never just give you 1 test a week. They'll just all pick a date, and Friday you have all your tests coming together. And so be ready for the unexpected. Plan, prepare ahead for all of those things that you should. And as a retired pastor, I've always tried to have a sermon in my backpack because I know Pastor Dan or Pastor Glenn or someone's going to call up Saturday night and say, I've lost my voice, I can't talk. Are you available tomorrow morning? Prepare for the unexpected, and you'll never be disappointed because it will show up. Remembering to be prepared, that little saying I come across, education is expensive. Ignorance is even more so. So plan ahead and be prepared and get prepared for a job. Jesus gives us insights into becoming great, with Ginger shared, and I appreciate that. And I've had new insights into that expression. Those of you who would be great, learn to serve. And one of the things that doesn't get highlighted enough is the joys that come from service. To be involved with people, to be involved in an organization, to just be available. And one of the odd things that studies show is that people who volunteer, people who are involved in service clubs, make more money. Now, why would the two go together? Because people see you in a different light. They take extra time, whatever. People that serve are the kind of people that you want to work with, that maybe get the job elevations, whatever. He who would be great, be servant of all. And then I just encourage you, think about the individuals who have made a difference in your life, those who took some extra time. And I may have mentioned them before, and I told Jerry Poley on Friday night that I was going to talk to him about today. So I thought maybe he'd show up for equal time, but he hasn't yet. But Bill Wiltsey, Jerry Poley, two pastors that took a young pastor under their wing, befriended, encouraged, and just gave me some of the most practical advice, but even more so, some of the best encouragement I've ever received. So as you go into life, don't be afraid to serve. Don't be afraid to help people. Jesus concludes the Beatitudes in the Gospels about becoming light and salt, and the anthem of the choir today pick up on that. To be a great person, Jesus says, help those around you. There's other wise sayings from Warren Buffett, invest in yourself. Dale Carnegie said, never stop growing. And some of the best advice I think we can work on for ourselves is learn to work harder on yourself than on your job. If you improve yourself yearly and see improvement in your life and in your work and in the way that you get along with people, there's really no telling what you can accomplish. And I encourage you to continue to know yourself. If you're an introvert, deal with that. If you're an extrovert, empower yourself by continually being with people. I am a basic introvert. And after Sunday mornings, I am tired out. You people wear me out. My wife goes home high as a kite because of the different personalities. You need to know yourself and how you get your energy restored and then do it. And I encourage you to focus on those things you can control and those that you can't. Put aside and don't deal with too much. And don't wish your life away. Sometimes we sit around and just wish for things rather than taking advantage of opportunities that are ours. And there's a tension we live in this world, and two quotes, one from Bob Marley, who I don't know, but the quote was interesting. The day you stop racing is the day you win the race. The day you stop racing, the day you win the race. So don't run through life trying to capture everything, whatever he's coming from. Then there's that great quote from Mario Andretti, the auto racer. If everything seems under control, you're not going fast enough. And those are the extremes we live in the family life, in the work field, whatever. There are those two tensions. To not get all stressed out personally, but also keep pushing. And today, I think it's fitting that we are reminded of what Christ has left and encouraged us to participate in. Whenever you get together, come to the table and receive what I have done and be reminded of what I have accomplished for you. There are those times where in our life we need to be still and to be at peace with God. Days like this in church are ones which are very important to us. And as I think back over my life, I am so thankful for people that influenced me, that just came into my life, and because of hanging out with them, some wonderful things happened. When I was in college, my roommate said, "Hey, Van Cliburn's going to be in Lexington, Kentucky. We're going to go." Who's Van Cliburn? Well, one of the greatest concert pianists ever. Oh, okay. So we went, and he got to shake his hand. Big deal. It was to him. Later in college, someone said Mahalia Jackson's going to be in Louisville, Kentucky. Let's go. And so as we sing, "His eye is on the sparrow," at the end of the service today, I'm going to be remembering Mahalia Jackson pouring her heart out in that anthem. Early in ministry, Judge Holbrook, which Jim Humphrey knows real well because he taught a Sunday school class in Clare, Michigan, invited me as a young pastor to be a part of the board of laity. And we planned various events through the year. Because I said yes to a volunteer request, to be a volunteer actually, I got to be on the platform with Jesse Owens and shake his hands and hear him speak about his Christian faith. As you live your life, be surrounded by good people and be amazed at the opportunities that you come with. And another tidbit to your college kids. Some of those people you hang out with are going to become important. In my class, the future governor of Ohio was a part of that class. One of the bishops in the United Methodist Church was a part of my seminary class. Now, as I share those little illustrations, people always come back and say, "Well, why didn't you amount to something?" But it's a way for me to brag about I once knew someone important. So, a couple of things to wrap it up. Don't get stressed out over decisions. Sleep on them. Meditation is the soul's perspective glass in which we get a sense of what's going on. John Steinbeck, famous author and writer, said it is a common experience that a problem difficult at night is resolved in the morning after the committee of sleep has worked on it. Go to bed before a major decision, sleep on it, and things seem better in the morning. And so, as you go into the future, remember it's a jungle out there. But remember, God, our Creator, is the one who created all of this and is our guide and the one who will show us the way that we ought to go. And so trust that inner voice where God is speaking and God is leading and God is encouraging you to say yes. Amen.